The video started shaky, filmed from across the street. My sister's voice whispered behind the camera, "You need to see this." There she was, Jessica, screaming in the driveway like a banshee who just realized the gates of hell shut behind her. Her expensive silk robe flapped in the wind like a flag of surrender, but her voice didn't carry defeat. It carried rage. "He took everything," she held at the brick wall of our now empty home. "Even the damn dog." I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. I watched her lose her mind while clutching a bottle of rose in one hand and a broken stiletto in the other, like a pathetic war trophy from a battle she didn't even realize she'd already lost. And I smiled. Not the kind of smile you wear when something's funny. The kind you grow when everything you've known has burned to the ground and you lit the match. Let me rewind. 1 month ago, I was lying in a hospital bed after a steel beam snapped and pinned my leg like a piece of meat in a construction site accident. Crushed tibia, for pins, 2 surgeries. Pain that makes you bite through morphine. Nurses told me to expect visitors, that family usually helps with recovery. I waited. Nobody came. I called her. It rang twice. Then her voice came through, not worried, not tired, not even pretending. "You're not worth the gas money, Luke. Die fast or heal quick." The words slapped harder than the beam ever did. I didn't get a chance to reply before another voice popped on the line. Her son, Dylan. My stepson. The one I'd taken in, raised, put through summer camp, got his first iPhone. "We don't miss you," he said, then hung up like I was an automated call from the bank. I stared at the silent phone in my hand. The fluorescent light above flickered like a broken promise. 3 days passed. Then 5. Then 2 weeks. I stopped calling. I stopped waiting. I started planning. Jessica had always been demanding, sure. She liked nice things. Liked hearing her name in people's mouths. Liked attention more than affection. But she used to at least pretend to love me. She used to call me her steady rock. Turns out she only needed that rock to stand on while she reached for someone else. My friend Tony, the night nurse, smuggled me in some gear, laptop, clothes, even a burner phone. He'd seen my face after the call. He didn't ask questions. Just gave me that silent nod guys give each other when it's about to get serious. On week 3, I discharged myself against medical advice. Signed the papers with trembling hands and a fire in my chest that no drug could touch. I didn't call Jessica. Didn't tell her I was leaving. I didn't go home. Instead, I went to the cabin upstate. The one I bought for weekend fishing trips. She'd always hated it. Called it your weird old man cave. That made it perfect. No one would think to look for me there. For the next few weeks, I watched. Security cameras, bank accounts, text backups. I had it all. And what I saw, it shattered the last flicker of doubt. Jessica had turned our house into a private circus. Strange men in my bed. Parties with no rules. My dog locked in the garage while she blasted music and laughed like a villainess in a bad soap opera. Dylan? He was too busy filming prank videos for TikTok to care. I could have screamed. Could have cried. But I didn't. I documented. Then I got to work. You see, I own the house. She thought it was ours, but she never read the paperwork. I handled the bills, paid off the mortgage, refinanced under my name alone 5 years ago. Call it foresight. Or maybe instinct. I pulled every penny from the joint accounts. Sold the second car, the one I bought, for her comfort. Emptied the garage. Called a friend with a moving truck. And yeah, I took Max, our dog. He didn't bark once when I opened the door. He just looked at me, stood up, and walked out like he'd been waiting. Now here she was, screaming in that driveway, mascara melting down her face, screaming like someone had stolen her life. But it wasn't hers. Not anymore. I paused the video. Sat in silence. The kind of silence that doesn't ache anymore. This was just the beginning. Because the worst part wasn't that she betrayed me. The worst part? She thought I'd never do anything about it. Let me tell you something about betrayal. It doesn't hit you all at once. No, it's not like a car crash. It's more like drowning with a smile on your face because you haven't realized the water's rising until it's already in your lungs. The moment I pulled the security footage and saw what Jessica had done while I was stuck in a hospital bed, crippled, alone, I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall. I just watched. And that made it worse. She wasn't even hiding it. The footage from the ring cam caught everything. First came the laughter. That high-pitched, fake laugh she used at dinner parties. The one I used to think meant she was enjoying herself. Now I knew it was her mating call for chaos. A black SUV pulled into the driveway. Out stepped a guy in a gym tank, aviators, and fake confidence. He walked like he owned the place. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Not even the driveway. Jessica met him at the door wearing one of my shirts. The same blue one she once said made me look powerful. She laughed, kissed him in front of the damn camera and dragged him inside like a prize. They didn't even close the blinds. It was like I didn't exist. The same night, she posted a photo to Instagram, self-care night, 2 hearts, wine and vibes. No hashtags about me. No mention of the man behind the camera, the man paying for that roof over her head. Just a fake smile, a glass of wine, and lies, lies, lies. That post got 274 likes in 2 hours. I counted. But that wasn't the only thing I noticed. The gas station receipts from my joint credit card filled at 2 a.m. Uber trips from downtown to our neighborhood. Restaurant bills for 2 signed under my name. All while I was lying in a sterile bed, eating pudding and trying not to scream when they changed the bandages. I started to question everything. How long had it been going on? Was I ever more than a wallet with legs to her? Did she ever love me, or did she just love the version of me who paid for Botox and spa weekends? I remember the first time we met. It was at a New Year's Eve party 5 years ago. She wore red heels and smelled like vanilla and danger. She told me I looked like someone who needed saving, and I believed her. Back then, that sounded romantic. Now I know what she really meant was, you look like someone I can manipulate. We got married within 10 months. Too fast. Everyone said it. My sister Emma begged me to slow down. She talks more about jewelry than your future, she warned. I laughed her off. Called her jealous. Told her Jessica was just misunderstood. Turns out Emma saw what I didn't. I still remember the first time Jessica joked about leaving me if I ever went broke. We were in bed. She laughed and said, "Well, I didn't marry you for your amazing personality." I laughed too. We both pretended it was funny. I should have gotten up then. But love makes fools out of smart men. So I stayed. I built her a life of comfort. Spa days, designer bags, those stupid imported French candles she liked. And all the while, she built a second life, one that didn't include me. But the moment I left the hospital, the switch flipped. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was done. Done being the guy who forgave. Done being the one who stayed loyal to someone who used love like a bargaining chip. Done being Luke the provider, the one who made excuses for a woman who saw kindness as weakness. At the cabin, I slept next to my dog, not my wife. I read books, watched sunsets, ate canned beans, and felt freer than I had in years. I relearned how to be me again. And every day while she partied and played house with strangers in my bed, I worked silently in the background. I called my lawyer, filed for divorce, froze the accounts, scheduled the movers, and finally sold the damn house. Cash. You should have seen her face in the video when she realized the keys no longer worked, that the locks had been changed, that the home she thought she ruled was gone, just like the man she thought would never leave. It was poetic, but it wasn't revenge. It was liberation. She called me once. Unknown number. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was tight with panic, rage, disbelief. "You think you're clever, huh? You think you can just walk away? You owe me, Luke." "No, Jessica. I don't owe you a damn thing." And for the first time in years, I finally felt clean. The call came at 2:41 a.m. I was half awake, Max curled up at my feet, the wind outside whispering through the pine trees like it was in on the secret. The screen lit up, unknown number. I knew it was her. I let it ring. Voicemail. Then it rang again. This time I answered. "Luke." Her voice cracked like cheap porcelain. "Where the hell are you?" I didn't say anything. Just let the silence settle heavy between us like a final goodbye. I came home and the house is empty. You took everything." Her voice was wild, high-pitched, one breath away from hysteria. "You even took the damn espresso machine, Luke." "Who does that?" "You're calling about coffee?" I finally spoke, calm as still water. "That's not the point. What the hell is going on? You ghosted your own wife, didn't even call when you were discharged. What kind of man, eh? A man who got tired of being lied to, disrespected, and told to die faster," I cut in. There was a pause. The kind that doesn't need silence to feel deafening. "You're being dramatic," she said. "You're just mad because I didn't baby you while you were in a hospital. Grow up, Luke. You always needed too much." That was her pattern, flip the blame like a magician pulling rabbits out of hats. She always knew how to twist a knife and make it seem like you handed it to her. "I'm not mad," I said slowly. "I'm done." "You can't be done," she hissed. "You don't get to be done. Not without a conversation. Not without giving me a chance to explain." "Explain what?" I asked. "The random men you brought into my house? The Uber rides at 1 a.m.? The card charges for hotel rooms and drinks while I was drugged up with metal screws in my leg. You've been spying on me?" "No," I said, "I just stopped being blind." "You're unbelievable," she snapped. "You just up and left without a word? You think taking the dog and furniture makes you a hero?" You're pathetic, Luke. You'll come crawling back when you realize no one wants a broken man with a limp and a pity story. I felt nothing. And that scared her more than anything. Because Jessica's power came from control. From reaction. From chaos. And here I was, steady, cold, emotionless. I already filed, I told her. Check your email. You'll find the papers. I'll cover 1 month's rent for wherever you land next. After that, you're on your own. You wouldn't, she said, voice shaking. I did. She screamed. Not cried. Screamed. A long, primal shriek that echoed through the speaker and nearly made Max lift his head. I imagined her there, probably barefoot, still in that silk robe, standing in the middle of a hollowed-out house, realizing that her empire had crumbled and she was the one who swung the hammer. You bastard, she shouted. You were nothing before me. You were a boring, broke contractor with no ambition and no personality. I gave you style, I gave you friends, I gave you a life. No, I said. You gave me a nightmare. And I just woke up. Click. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. That wasn't silence anymore, it was freedom. The next few days were quiet. I got emails from mutual friends, some pretending to be neutral, others asking if the rumors were true. Did you really clear out the house in one night? Bro, Jessica says you stole her jewelry. What's going on? Why didn't you tell anyone you were out of the hospital? I didn't reply to any of them. Because the truth is, when you leave a toxic person, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not even to the ones who once sat at your dinner table. A week later, I received a certified letter, Jessica's response through her lawyer. A bitter, venomous list of demands. Alimony. Half of everything. Even partial custody of Max. Her lawyer must not have known about the prenup. Or that the house was solely mine. Or that all her affairs were neatly archived on my cloud backup with timestamps, receipts, and enough digital breadcrumbs to expose her like a tabloid spread. I forwarded everything to my attorney, who simply responded, "This will be fun." It hit me then, this wasn't just the fallout of a failed marriage. It was a war she thought she could win with lipstick and manipulation. But I had something stronger than charm or lies. I had truth. And I was just getting started. It's funny how fast people change when you stop playing their game. Jessica had always been the queen of appearances, perfect hair, perfect smile, the kind of woman who could fake love with the same ease she'd fake a tan. But court? That's where lies go to die. Her lawyer strutted in like he'd just been handed a slam dunk case. Slick back hair, Italian suit, a smirk that screamed, "We've done this before." I watched him whisper something to Jessica. She didn't look at me. Didn't dare. Meanwhile, I sat beside my attorney Rachel, a bulldog in a blazer who made sharks look polite. She adjusted her glasses and placed the neatly organized folders on the table like she was about to dissect a corpse. Jessica's side opened with flair. Her lawyer painted her as a neglected wife married to an emotionally absent man who abandoned his responsibilities and coldly disappeared after an injury. "Your Honor," he said, voice syrupy smooth, "my client is seeking reasonable compensation for the emotional distress and financial displacement caused by Mr. Harper's sudden and callous withdrawal from the marriage." Rachel didn't blink. She stood, cleared her throat, and said, "We would like to begin by submitting Exhibit A through Exhibit G." Then, with a flick of her wrist, she pushed forward the stack of evidence. It wasn't just receipts. It was surveillance footage, GPS logs, credit card statements, screenshots of texts between Jessica and her little gym boyfriends, even clips from the Nest camera, one in which she literally shouted, "He'll never find out, he's too busy being a cripple." The judge raised an eyebrow. Jessica's smile faltered. Her lawyer coughed. And I sat still, watching her unravel. "I think we should take a recess," her attorney muttered. The judge agreed. 20 minutes. Outside, in the corridor, Jessica finally looked at me. "You set me up," she spat. I tilted my head. "No. You set yourself up. I just stopped covering for you." She took a step closer. "You think this makes you a man? Ruining me?" I leaned in calm. "No, Jessica. I think walking away from you is what finally made me one." Her face twitched. The performance was over. No more fake tears, no more playing the victim. The real her was raw and venomous, stripped of the glamour she used to hide behind. It was almost sad. Almost. Back inside, things went quick. The prenup held strong. The judge acknowledged the infidelity, the abandonment, the financial abuse. Jessica's demands were denied one by one. Alimony? Denied. Half the house? Not hers. Custody of Max? Laughed out of the room. She left court shaking, sunglasses hiding her rage. I didn't follow. I didn't even look back. That night, I drove back to the cabin, windows down, music loud. The mountains rose in the distance like guardians. The weight in my chest gone. For the first time in years, I didn't feel hunted. I didn't feel responsible for keeping someone else's chaos from spilling over. I felt light. I sat on the porch with Max, cracked open a beer, and watched the sun dip behind the trees. No screaming. No guilt. No war zone of lies to clean up. Just air, sky, and the steady rhythm of peace. I thought about all the nights I stayed up wondering why Jessica had become so cold. Wondering what I did wrong. Thinking maybe if I worked harder, bought more, loved deeper, she'd come back. But you can't fix a heart that enjoys breaking others. Jessica didn't cheat because she was unhappy. She cheated because she could. Because some people crave destruction more than love. Because for women like her, affection is currency, and when the bank runs dry, they move on. And I let her. For too long. But not anymore. I wasn't broken. I wasn't defeated. I wasn't her victim. I was free. And freedom tastes a hell of a lot better than forgiveness. You'd think it ends in the courtroom. That once the judge drops the gavel and the papers are signed, everything resets. Clean slate. New chapter. But life's messier than that. The day after the ruling, I woke up to 37 text messages. From mutual friends. From numbers I didn't recognize. From Jessica. Please call me. You can't just disappear. Don't do this, Luke. Not like this. And the most telling one of all. We need to talk before people start asking questions. Not because she missed me. Not because she felt remorse. But because she needed to control the narrative. Even in defeat, she wanted to direct the spotlight. I didn't answer. But silence, I learned, is a form of power. And people like Jessica? They can't handle silence. 3 days later, she showed up at the cabin. I heard the car tires crunch the gravel before I saw her. Max growled low at my feet. He knew the scent even before I opened the door. There she stood. Designer sunglasses, tight jeans, lips drawn in a line that wasn't sorrow, it was calculation. The mask had cracks now. But she still wore it. Luke, she said, stepping out like she was walking into a salon, not the ruins of her own lies. How did you find this place? I asked, not moving from the doorway. I lived with you for 4 years. You think I didn't notice where you disappeared to every time you needed space? She tried to sound tender. It came off hollow. I didn't invite her in. She stood on the steps, arms crossed. Look, she started, voice shaky in that way she made shaky. I know things got complicated. Complicated? That was the word she chose for betrayal. 4 months of affairs. For mocking my injury. For using my money to entertain strangers in my home. I didn't reply. I just waited. Silence again. She cracked as I knew she would. Okay, fine, she hissed, voice turning sharp. You're going to play the cold saint now? You think walking away makes you righteous? You think everyone's going to believe your version of the story? I raised an eyebrow. You came all the way out here to threaten me? I came to fix this, she snapped. Before it gets worse. Before people start choosing sides. There are no sides, Jessica. There's just truth and ego. And you've already lost both. She stepped closer, her perfume hitting me like smoke, familiar and toxic. You're not some hero, Luke. You're not a victim either. You're just a coward who ran. I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because I realized finally that I felt nothing. Not rage. Not sorrow. Not even bitterness. You think I ran? I said, stepping out onto the porch. I stayed for years trying to love someone who only loved herself. I stayed through the gaslighting, the manipulation, the empty bed, the backhanded compliments, the constant disrespect. I didn't run, Jessica. I survived. And I left. That hit her harder than anything in court. Because narcissists don't fear losing love. They fear losing control. She stared at me, lip twitching, jaw clenched. I hope you enjoy your little cabin, she said bitterly. You and your mutt. See how far that gets you when the world forgets your name. And then she turned, walked back to her luxury car, and drove off without another word. No apology. No tears. Just venom. But I knew what that drive back would be like. She'd scream in the car. Punch the steering wheel. Cry not because she lost me, but because she couldn't use me anymore. The days that followed were quieter. I changed my number. Deleted old accounts. Moved bank cards. Got a new mailing address. Scrubbed her from my life like a stain you finally stop ignoring. But the world still rippled. Mutual friends dropped like flies. Some out of loyalty to her. Some because drama feeds the weak and they were starving. One friend, Chris, messaged me. Bro, I don't know what's true anymore. She's saying you faked the injury to test her loyalty. That you set her up. I replied with 3 words. Check the footage. Nothing more. Nothing less. And just like that, more silence. People like Jessica? They survive off attention. When you starve them of it, they shrivel. They lash out. They spiral. but they can't pull you down if you don't reach back. Every morning now, I wake up before sunrise. Brew real coffee, black, bitter, honest. Max stretches by the fire, and I sit on the porch watching the mist roll off the trees. Not because I'm hiding, but because I finally stopped running in circles and started walking in a straight line. Away from her. Toward myself. 2 weeks passed. The world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. Jessica didn't burn down the cabin in a rage, though I half expected it. Instead, everything went eerily still, like the final breath before a storm. Then the whispers began. It started with a DM from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Mason, one of my oldest friends from college. "Hey man, I know it's not my business, but Jessica's been telling people you stole everything. That you were abusive. That you cheated first. Just thought you should know." I sat with that message for a long time, letting the weight of it settle into my ribs like ice. I didn't reply. Because I already knew. Jessica wasn't just rewriting history, she was trying to set the pages on fire. A day later, my sister Emma called. "She's poisoning everything," she said bluntly. "3 of your old clients called me asking why you abandoned your business. She told them you were mentally unstable." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was textbook. The final play of the narcissist: if you can't win, destroy the game. She really thinks she can spin this? I asked. "She's not trying to win," Emma replied. "She's trying to make you lose. It's different. And a lot more dangerous." I leaned back in the chair, staring out at the gray stretch of sky. Max was asleep by the fire again, his chest rising steady. He didn't care about gossip or courtrooms or lies wrapped in pearls. He just knew the difference between calm and chaos. I used to think the truth was enough. But the truth doesn't always scream. Lies do. They're louder, flashier, more palatable. Truth is boring. It sits in the corner and waits to be seen. Meanwhile, Jessica had microphones in every corner of the social circle, singing her song of victimhood. So I made a choice. I fought back. Not with rage. Not with public posts or petty comebacks. But with proof. I created a shared drive. Organized everything: videos, screenshots, emails, timestamps. I wrote a single paragraph, polite and factual, and sent it to every person who messaged me asking what really happened. I won't argue. I won't gossip. But I will show you. Here's everything I have. Make up your own mind. Some never replied. Some apologized. Some said they had no idea. And others? They disappeared. And that was fine by me. Because when the dust settles, you don't want everyone standing beside you, just the right ones. A few days later, a message from Dylan, her son, slid into my inbox. "Hey. Just wanted to say sorry. I was a jerk. I didn't know the whole story. Mom lied to me about a lot of stuff. I shouldn't have said what I said." It sat unread for hours. I didn't know what to do with it. Because this was the same kid who told me not to come back when I was in a hospital bed, bleeding and broken. The same kid who laughed at me behind my back. But also the kid I taught to ride a bike. Who cried when his hamster died. Who used to fall asleep on my chest during movie nights. Eventually, I replied, "Thanks. Take care of yourself. Be better than what you were taught." That was all. No bitterness. No warmth. Just a door gently shut. Because forgiveness isn't always an invitation. Sometimes it's just closure without a ceremony. The following weekend, Emma visited the cabin. We grilled steaks, drank whiskey, and sat under the stars like we used to when we were kids. "You know what I realized?" I said, staring into the dark treetops. "I spent years afraid of being alone. Of failing. Of ending up like Dad, divorced, bitter, sleeping on a couch." Emma lit a cigarette and handed it to me. I didn't smoke, but I took it anyway. "And now?" she asked. "Now I realized the worst part wasn't being alone," I said. "It was being with someone who made me feel alone. That's worse than any silence." She nodded slowly. "You finally hear your own voice again, huh?" "Yeah," I said. "And it's a lot quieter than I thought. But it's real." That night, I slept deeper than I had in years. No nightmares. No Jessica in the corners of my mind whispering lies or guilt. Just a man, a dog, and the crackle of firewood burning away the past. It's strange how life can fall apart in pieces that don't seem to fit anywhere, like shattered glass waiting to be turned into something new. After the storm with Jessica, I found myself standing in the ruins of everything I thought I had. But here's the thing about ruins: they make the perfect foundation. The cabin became my sanctuary, my headquarters for rebuilding. Every morning started with a long walk through the woods with Max, breathing in air that didn't carry the poison of lies or the weight of betrayal. Those walks weren't just about the dog's needs, they were my reset button. I signed up for therapy. It wasn't because I thought I was weak or broken beyond repair. No, it was because I wanted to learn how to feel again. How to trust myself. How to stop replaying Jessica's venomous words like a broken record in my head. My therapist, a calm woman named Laura, told me something simple but profound. Luke, healing isn't about forgetting. It's about making peace with your scars. They don't define you, but they shape you. It wasn't easy. Some sessions were like opening a wound and letting the air in, raw and cold. Other times I found myself laughing at the absurdity of my own pain. I told Laura about the hospital, the cold phone calls, the silence that screamed louder than any words. About Jessica's lies, the court battles, the car rides where she threatened and sneered. And she listened. Really listened. That made a difference. I also started working again. Slowly. The business I'd built with my own hands was barely standing after months of neglect. Jessica had no qualms about spending company money like it was monopoly cash. Clients were confused, bills overdue. It was a mess. But I tackled it piece by piece. Emails, phone calls, meetings one by one, I rebuilt trust with people who had once believed in me. Not because I owed them an explanation, but because I owed it to myself to stand tall again. One afternoon, as I was cleaning out old files, I found a box Jessica had left behind in the chaos. Inside were letters, handwritten, many unopened. Some were apologies. Others were confessions. Most were lies, but buried beneath them, a raw, broken voice I never got to hear. I kept the box. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that people are complicated. And sometimes even the ones who hurt you most are fighting battles you'll never see. On weekends, Emma came up to visit more often. We cooked meals, shared stories, and slowly, laughter crept back into the cabin like sunlight through the trees. One night, after a bottle of bourbon and too many stories about our childhood, Emma said, "You're stronger than you know. Not because you survived her, but because you survived yourself." Those words hit me harder than any courtroom verdict. Because surviving betrayal isn't just about fighting others, it's about fighting the doubt and fear inside you. I started dating again. At first, it was awkward. Phone screens felt like minefields. Conversations felt like tests I wasn't ready to pass. But eventually, I met Sarah. She wasn't flashy or perfect. She was kind, honest, and had a laugh that made my chest ache with something I hadn't felt in years: hope. We didn't rush. We didn't pretend. We just were. And that made all the difference. Through Sarah, I learned to trust again. To open up without fear. To be vulnerable without shame. Jessica's shadow still lingered sometimes. A flash of anger. A pang of sadness. But it was no longer the center of my world. I had reclaimed my story. One day, as I sat on the porch with Max and Sarah by my side, watching the sun dip below the mountains, I realized something. Pain is temporary. Growth is permanent. And love? Real love? It's built on truth. Not lies. Not control. But truth. I'm still rebuilding. Still learning. Still healing. But for the first time, I'm doing it on my own terms. And that feels like freedom. There's a strange clarity that comes from losing everything. When the foundations you built your life on crumble, you're forced to ask the hard questions. Who am I without the mask? What do I really want? And most importantly, what will I never tolerate again? Jessica's betrayal taught me more than I ever expected, not about her, but about myself. It forced me to confront my weaknesses, my blind spots, and the parts of me I had ignored for too long. First, I learned that love isn't about possession or control. I thought love was proving loyalty by staying through the worst, by forgiving every insult, every betrayal. But love is respect. It's mutual care. It's safety. If those things aren't there, what you have isn't love, it's a transaction. Second, I learned that silence can be both a weapon and a shield. For years, I stayed silent, ignored the red flags, made excuses, swallowed my doubts. That silence allowed the lies to grow. But when I finally spoke my truth and refused to be silent anymore, that same silence became my fortress against the chaos she tried to drag me into. Third, I learned the importance of boundaries. Before, I was too willing to bend, to accommodate, to ignore my own needs in favor of keeping peace. Now, I know peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of healthy boundaries. And finally, I learned to forgive, not to forget, not to open the door back to pain, but to free myself from carrying the weight of bitterness. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not the person who hurt you. These lessons aren't easy. Some days I still wrestle with doubt or loneliness. Some nights memories creep in like shadows at dusk. But I face them head-on, armed with the knowledge that I am stronger than my past. As for Jessica? She's a chapter closed. A storm weathered. A lesson learned. To anyone walking through betrayal's fire, hold on. It will hurt. It will shake you. But you will emerge. Maybe not the same, but better. Wiser. Ready to build something real. because the fire burns away the fake. And what's left is the truth, the only thing worth holding on to.